If you break it, you do pay for it in Germany. And Germany is the country of insurances. And today we're going to talk of maybe the most important insurance in Germany called the Private Liability Insurance and answer the question, should you get it and where can you get it from? Hey, my name is Jen and I'm from Guatemala.
And mine is Yvonne and I'm German.
And together we're from Simple Germany, where we create English content to help internationals settle into life in Germany more smoothly. So Yvonne, what is private liability insurance in Germany?
I would say it's the same worldwide, but private liability insurance is a cover that protects you from financial costs or damages you cause to others, so third parties.
Mm-hmm. And what's the name in German?
Private Haftpflichtversicherung.
That's so long. Anyways, we do know that Germany is the land of insurances, but this one I would say by far is the most popular one and maybe the most necessary according to
Next to health insurance.
Next to health insurance, but that one is mandatory.
Right.
This one is optional.
Correct.
To the extent that according to statistics, 83% of all of Germans have Haftpflichtversicherung. I must say, for the first 2.5 years, maybe 3, I didn't have this insurance, and we will let you know why later in this video. And do I regret it? I will let you know. So one of the very first questions that I had when I arrived to Germany is, why do I even need this insurance?
That is a very good question. The answer is extremely simple, because by German law, you are 100% liable for any damages you might cause to others, whether that is like for physical goods or personal, like body or mental damages.
Ah, okay. And then, but will Germans sue me or something if something happens?
Yes, I would say Germans are not as prone to suing as, for example, the infamous in the US.
Yeah.
However, if Germans feel like that something is your fault and they're in their right, they will pursue legal matters.
Mm-hmm. And this is where this private liability insurance might kick in.
Correct. Not for the legal cost, but for the cost that actually comes out of the damage that you caused.
Oh, okay. So when I first opened my bank account in Germany, there's lady, because back in the day I opened it in a very traditional bank, and so I also had a bank consultant.
There were no other options.
There were no other options, really. It was really back in the day. And then this lady looked at me and was like, okay, now additional to your bank account, you should definitely get this insurance. And I looked at her and I'm like, why should I pay for this? And her eyes open as because you have to. And I'm like, I don't have to. If this is optional, I'm not going to get it. Thank you very much. And I walked away, and she persisted a little bit and tried to explain the different scenarios. And in my mind, I always thought, I've been responsible for my life, I don't know for how long, and I've never caused an accident. Why should I get this insurance? Until I met Yvonne.
Well, and that's when, I don't know why, but at some point, it was still in the very early days, you said something, my antenna went whoop, that kind of implied you don't have Haftpflichtversicherung?
And I was like, no.
And I was like, yes, please. Pretty much implying let's get it together now. I make sure of it. Because the thing is, what I just said, we are 100% liable to damages. And I would say what is easily overseen is if you break someone's phone, it might be expensive for you, but you may be able to cover it from your own pocket, right?
Right.
If you damage someone's good that you borrowed, like a vacuum cleaner, whatsoever, those are things you can replace.
Yes, yeah.
But the liability insurance is so important, because if you cause a damage that goes beyond a physical good and it actually hurts somebody physically, those costs, those medical costs, can go into the 6-7 figures easily.
Wow, okay.
And that is nothing you can cover out of your pocket, most likely.
The one question that still remained, though, and I was asking Yvonne, is okay, let's say I do cause an accident and someone does get hurt, break their arm or whatnot, they go to the hospital, isn't there their health insurance covering that?
Yes, but so it's not that easy. So of course, if you present yourself to the hospital with a broken arm, the hospital will ask you, how did it happen? You can say an accident. They will probably ask you, was it at work or in your private life? Because already those questions indicate which cover, who will cover these costs.
Okay.
Because the hospital, of course, will have to send invoices and get their costs paid.
Okay, yeah.
And of course, they will treat you. They will not wait for, to get the insurance to say, yes, we will cover you. Of course, you will get direct treatment. However, the liability insurance covers way more than just treatment costs. So a broken arm, I would say, is not that bad. However, what about you're liable for breaking the arm of a tennis player? And that is their tennis hand.
Yeah, okay.
Then it's not just a broken arm, but possibly a career down the drain. And then,
or a developer, not even a tennis person, right? A developer, someone who works on the computer full time.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then you are also liable for what comes beyond the treatment cost. Also for money compensation for pain and suffering.
Okay.
Compensation for long-term like damages. Let's say it's a joint that cannot heal properly.
Okay.
Like all those like long-term costs that is beyond health insurance would get covered by the liability insurance.
Wow.
And in specific cases, let's say like a kid is involved, right? And the kid needs to stay in the hospital. That means most likely, depending on the case, one or two parents would want to stay with a kid. And then what about the work that those parents miss and their pay? All of that comes into account and gets covered.
Wow. Okay. So it's not as easy as like the medical costs get all covered. It's also the transcendence or the domino effect or the repercussions. And that's where the private liability kicks in.
And that's where it becomes so expensive, what is just unforeseeable.
Yes. So then when I found that out, I was like, whoa, sign me up. Where do I sign, please? And I must say, when I first moved to Germany, I was not aware that I was 100% liable for any damages I might cause. And I was not aware that such damages could happen. And then when I looked at the price of the private liability insurance, I was like, okay, seriously, Jen, why didn't you get it back in the day? Because it can be as easy as €3 a month to have that peace of mind, to know that, okay, if something does happen, I am covered.
Yeah, especially for like millions or hundreds of thousands of euros.
Yes.
Now, to make this very clear and a big disclaimer, we are not legal insurance brokers, consultants whatsoever. We're telling you this out of our own personal experiences and also for you to think about how you would like to live your life in Germany, pretty much.
Yes.
So none of what we're giving you here as advice is actually proper legal advice.
Yes, exactly. So take that into consideration.
Correct. And of course, when it comes to insurances, a lot of it is also about fear. We don't want to create any fear. We just want to give you the facts of what may happen. And to be honest, none of us have ever used our liability insurance, but I would never want to miss it because, like we said, it's not the case of, oh, I just have to pay a few thousand euros, which might be very painful, but it can be the case of more dramatic scenarios, which example number 2 will portray. Please, it's very dramatic, but it can happen.
Yeah.
And that is that you are running a red light because you're late as a pedestrian, and there is a car that you don't see, which has to brake and swerve around you to try to not to hit you. And at the same time, the car hits a cyclist who dies upon the impact.
Wow, yeah. Also.
Not cool. It's your responsibility. Absolutely not cool. It's like dramatic, and we've actually seen it happens. There are cyclists that get run over, unfortunately, in any city, in any country.
Yeah.
And in this scenario, you already have your own mental impact. You don't want to have the liable monetary impact.
Yes, because that one excels beyond anything, right? And that's where the liability insurance would cover the expenses.
At least that part,
yeah, at
not
least
the
that
rest.
part, not the rest. Well, what do you mean by the rest? By the mental impact and
Yeah,
stuff.
your issues you will have with that, yeah.
Yes, yeah, of course, yeah. But at least the medical costs and the repercussions that this might be for the family and everything else, right? Yeah. So anyways, like Yvonne mentioned, these are examples that could happen in real life. Of course, the possibilities of these happenings tend to be a lot lower. But again, this is the thing with insurances, right? Especially for €3 a month, you think, okay, for €3, is it worth it to have the risk or just pay that? €3 is, at least in Düsseldorf, cheaper than a beer. That's how I see it, at least, right? When I first got it. And I'm like, okay, then it's like I have less than a beer, but I have that peace of mind that I am covered. I have been very close to actually using mine, not because of a very dramatic example, but because I broke a friend's very brand new iPhone, like from that day. And I immediately thought, wait, don't worry, I have the Haftpflichtversicherung. And I called them up and they were like super happy to help. Well, super happy. They were very helpful and told me that I only had to fill out a form, give that form also to my friend. But luckily in this case, because it was a brand new iPhone, I think Apple had a very good, customer service because they replaced the phone for my friend. So I didn't have to use it. And that was the one time that I was very close to getting it.
So that leads us to ask you whether you have ever used your private liability insurance or you have been lucky enough to not use it.
Yeah. So now that we have a little bit of the drama aside, let's talk about what does the private liability insurance covers.
So it depends on the policy that you get, because obviously not all policies are made equal and some cover more and some cover less. So be sure to, have that included, what is important to you. However, all of them cover damages to third parties' property.
They also should cover physical or mental damage to a person.
And they should cover the unintentional damage to the apartment that you live in or the building that it's in. So also those are areas that are covered. For example, if like a pipe breaks or something, if it's not your fault, but it impacts the area that you live in, insurance will kick in.
Okay, so what does the private liability in Germany not cover?
It does not cover damages that you cause with your car while driving.
Right.
That should be covered by your car liability insurance.
Yes. It also does not cover damages that your dog or horse might actually do. There's a lot of people that actually own horses in Germany. That's why. That's where your actually pet insurance should cover this.
Yeah, your
pet liability insurance.
Exactly. Yes. Your specific dog or horse liability insurance.
Yes.
Yeah. Other pets, like smaller pets, are usually covered by your private liability one.
Like a cat, for example.
Yeah, or a bird or a hamster.
Oh, or a rabbit.
Damages that you cause yourself to your own property are, of course, not covered by private liability insurance, but that you pretty much just pay from your own pocket.
Yes, as normal. Let's say you break your phone accidentally, you have to replace that yourself.
Yeah.
Now, if you're self-employed, the work-related damages that you cause are also not covered by the private liability insurance. In this case, it should be your freelance liability insurance that covers this.
Correct.
This is a very popular insurance in Germany. And then, of course, there's a lot of companies providing this insurance. However, the majority are very traditional, let's say, and they're all in German. And when I first got my private liability insurance, this was the case. However, you are lucky because in the last few years, there's been a boom of new services which are all in English, digital, online, less bureaucratic. Oh my God, the list goes on. We have written a detailed article where we compare 5 of the top all English, digital, super cool, modern insurances that provide liability insurance for people like us who speak English and are learning German, which you can check in the description box below.
The insurance provider that is most picked by our readers and viewers is Getsafe, who we've mentioned before as well. And their liability insurance is quite comprehensive. It covers up to 50 million euros. You can choose to not have a deductible. And it also offers, for example, to have the add-on for a drone liability insurance, which if you own a drone in Germany, yes, you need to have specific insurance for it.
Yes, of course. You can also add your family and children as well, your partner and children into the policy as well. Also, what's cool about Getsafe is that a lot of extreme sports are also covered in the policy. Well, actually, yeah, like skiing, snowboarding is extreme, sailing, it's also semi-extreme. And also they're very transparent and you can actually see what is covered, and that is information in English also.
Yes, and you can cancel any time, which is great, so you're not stuck in like a long-term policy in case you want to get out or you move or whatever changes.
If you do decide to go with Getsafe as your private liability insurance provider in Germany, then please consider using the link in the description box below. This is an affiliate link, meaning that Getsafe gives us a provision or a commission for every time you purchase an insurance at no extra cost to you.
On the contrary, you actually get a 15-euro discount when using our link.
Wow, that is pretty cool.
Getting your private liability insurance in Germany is one of the most important things when arriving to Germany. If you would like to know of 9 other very important things to do after you've just landed, check out the video coming next, 10 things to do after you've landed in Germany. Until next time, tschüss!